We feel that there's a continuity of history. You know, we all have a respect for the past. And we live these sort of outrageous lives in the middle of nowhere. And we're all tied to these crazy artifacts that we find, or the histories that we read about, or the people. And we think it's an important part of why we're here, is to tell the stories and to live this lifestyle. And there's so few people now that are living remote bush lifestyles anymore. And I think it's kind of nice to know that the park is not just wilderness, but also the culture and the heritage up in Kennicot, and you have this remote bush community that's still thriving.
The town of Chittenden is roughly 5 hours from Anchorage. When you're traveling to McCarthy, this is where the drive gets interesting. This is where the locals pull out the tire chains. This is where you see the sign that says, "Travel beyond this point, not recommended." We drove through the single-lane cut in the rock and soon enough found out why it's not recommended. Locals call these road glaciers, miles of them. Hours later, if you're lucky, you reach the end of the road, the footbridge at the base of the Kennicot Glacier. The quaint little town of McCarthy is close to a mile past the footbridge. For years, the community struggled over the difficulty getting in and out.
I tell people that it used to be that half the town wanted a 4-lane paved road to China through the park, and the other half of the town wanted to blow up the Tuscaloosa Bridge. And the point is that, you know, we couldn't really agree, and no one wanted to give an inch.
That's where the Rollins come in.
Oh, and by the way, if you don't give me the land and the lovely Princess Catherine to be my wife, then I'll just invade France with my armies.
Lori is teaching history today, homeschooling her 5 children. Her husband Keith operates their construction business. Wanting to do work on both sides of the Kennicot River, he would drive the heavy equipment through the water, causing problems.
Because every time you cross the river, something gets damaged, you pay thousands of dollars to fix it.
Finally, they'd had enough. They bought land on both sides of the river and built this, a new bridge, $250,000. Then came the question, who could use the new bridge? Locals? Businesses? Would McCarthy be overrun with RVs?
We had a dilemma. We had to figure out a way to build a bridge that people could drive across and get their supplies to where they're going, get their groceries to where they're going, get themselves to where they're going, etc., but without what some people call opening the floodgates.
They turned to simple economics. For $1,500, businesses could use it all year. Places like the McCarthy Lodge gladly pay.
You have a bridge that allows us to do things were near impossible. You know, we bring in 10,000 gallons of fuel oil for 6 months, and we'd have to transfer it to 55-gallon drums and then roll them over the footbridge. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
For personal use, an annual pass, $250. For a one-time trip, $200. And with that, they just controlled the floodgates.
If you're like a tourist or something, who's going to pay $250 to cross a bridge? Nobody, right?
A community adamant about access, yet fearful of growth. A lone bridge manages to answer both concerns.
If we don't have access, we're not here. And at the same time, if we have access for everyone who doesn't understand it, we'll destroy what we have. So how do you balance it? I mean, it's a continuous question. And that bridge is a great example of a local doing the right thing for their own business and for the community.
And in their log home, perched high on a bluff, the Rollins keep an eye on their new bridge below. A view you can't help being drawn to, even during history lessons.